You're right, guys. I wanted to do a video about not feeling good enough because I think it's something that plagues mankind, right? I think a hell of a lot of people can relate to this. But what I would suggest with something like this, right, is think about it. Like, who are you not good enough for, right? Um, is it you? You're not good enough for yourself. You're not good enough for other people. You're not good enough for your family. Or is it that you weren't good enough in the past for something or other? And do you ever actually challenge yourself to think like that? Or do you just accept it? I'm not good enough and just leave it there. No more exploration than that. So I can work with somebody this morning, for example, been having trouble in relationships with jealousy and stuff like that, and a lot of it not feeling like he's good enough. Girlfriend going out with some boyfriends, and sitting there sort of paranoid about it, giving her grief about where she is, what she's doing, and all stuff like that, and it's causing him trouble. So we're looking at sort of why are they a threat to you? What is it that's sort of threatening about them, and stuff like that. And we ended up getting back to the point that when he was 14, he was a bit overweight at school and he got bullied for it. But this is sort of where everything started to go wrong for him. He got bullied at school for that. He met a girl and it didn't go very well because he didn't feel like he was good enough for her. So sort of things started popping up. But before that situation at school, he couldn't really remember feeling like that before. So we started with that and it was like, okay, what did you do about that? And he was like, well, it's horrible. They're throwing food at me and telling me, come on, eat that. You must be hungry and all stuff like that, giving him a really shit time, as kids do. And so he's gone out after school every day, 45 minutes to an hour, pushed himself to run and lose weight. Now when you see him, he goes down to the gym, he's quite well built, a few years older than that now, than when he was 14. So when I was sort of saying to him, okay, so at that point in time he didn't feel good enough, but look what you did about that. Like in some ways they did you a favour. I'm not saying that it was a nice experience, but when you look back on it now, they've taught you that if you put your mind to it, you can do something about that. And you've got to a point where you now look like, very healthy and fit. So the fact that you can do that as a result of someone having a negative impact on you is actually a positive thing, isn't it? And he was like, oh, yeah, no, I've not really thought of it like that before. It's like, look, what else do you think you could do in your life with that type of mentality, right? That's a good mentality to have. So you take a negative thing and you turn it into a positive, but you didn't see that it was a positive, didn't see it like that. Don't look at it in that way. So then when we're looking at his life now, he's doing very well for himself, got a job, he drives, got money, he's got good friends, he's got hobbies, he's got a good sense of humour, people like him, right? He's got a lot going for him in his life. So at this point in your life, what is it that you're doing that is not good enough? And he couldn't think of anything. So when he's sort of going through this jealousy thing, if you look at yourself in comparison to that other person, which is what you're doing, what is it that they've got that you haven't got? What is it that you're jealous of? What are you worried about? And actually you couldn't think of anything. So these jealousy and not feeling good enough feelings are actually nothing to do with what's going on now. They're memories from the past. They're things that have happened in the past that you're still sort of living through now. Now this is a very complicated thing, but also it can be made very simple by you thinking in this way about it. What are you doing in your life now that means that you're not good enough? If you can identify stuff, like if I asked you that question, you said, well, I'm cheating on my missus. It's like, well, fucking stop it then. Because no, that's not good enough. I mean, okay, maybe there's stuff going on in your relationship that needs tackling, but there's better ways of tackling it than that. So stop it. Because those things are not going to work. They're not going to make you feel good enough for yourself. You can't, that's sensible. You shouldn't feel good about doing that. So actually that's again, like the positive negative thing. It's like, it's a positive thing that you feel negative about that, but do something about it, turn it into action like that lad did, And it's funny because when he was telling me this memory of being bullied and stuff, it was really bad for him. Do you know what I mean? Like he was visibly down and his mood changed, his posture changed, very glum about it and all that. But when I said to him, so okay, so that's you telling me the story, right? It's a sad story to you. But now let's say you posted that on Instagram and you put a picture up, because he showed me a picture of himself when he was 14 and he was a chunky little lad, and now, like I say, he's ripped now. So I said, if you put that on Instagram, and it was a post saying, look, yeah, I'm 19 years old. I went through bullying. This is what it was like. This is what people said to me, and all that sort of stuff. That's how I looked. As a result of that, I used that in order to kind of try and give myself some energy to change and to work on myself, because I wasn't happy with it either. It's not like I just changed because they were bullying me. I thought, I want to sort this out. I'm not happy with it myself. And they were the thing that made me do that. They were the energy that made me work hard to improve myself. Now, somebody else listening to that story is going to be inspired by you. So where you're sitting there sort of all glum and depressed about it, actually it's quite an inspiring story if you look at it in the right way. So rather than you not feeling good enough, maybe you could use that same mentality in other areas of your life, like at work or, with your social life and your intimate relationships and things like that, to improve them in the same way that you improved yourself. And it never looked at it like that. Such a small little thing, such a small little change, but it was like, never thought of it like that. And I think the reason for that is because sometimes these are the smallest little things that are right underneath your nose. You don't even realise you're doing them. I remember when I was having counselling, and she asked me to do this little exercise where it was like, pay attention when you get up in the morning, right? Switch your observer on, right? Pay attention and note down anything you do during the day that you're not happy that you did. And that was hard work, because it was like, I remember going to work and I remember I was having a chat with someone at work and they were talking about something that I kind of didn't really agree with too much, but I noticed other people were going, yeah. So I was going, yeah, you know what I mean, and agreeing with it. And then not only that, but later on in the day, I was telling somebody else the opinion of the person that I didn't agree with, because I saw everybody else was agreeing with it. And I felt proper crap about that. And it was only on this day, that was something I used to do all the time, right? But on this day, I noticed it and I felt crap about it. And then later on, we were doing this competition where you had a big board, and we got photographs of ourselves when we were kids, like babies, and you all pay a fiver to go in, and then whoever guesses the right amount of people who they were as babies wins the money, sort of thing. And there was a guy that worked upstairs where I worked, a ginger guy. We got on really well. There was a lot of banter. I mean, I was a colourblind printer, so he used to give me a lot of shit as well. So we used to give each other quite a lot of crap. And we were having like a tea break, and he said, I don't think I've got any pictures of myself when I was a kid. So we've obviously all looked at each other and gone, don't think it really matters. But I said to him, just bring in a picture of an orange and put that up. And he got the right arseache with me, like really badly, to the point where like he wouldn't speak to me for the rest of the day. Now, maybe this is wrong, but I didn't feel bad about that. And the only reason is because we had that normal level of banter all the time, Like, he would give me just as much shit as I would give him. So I felt like, well, maybe he's having a bad day, so perhaps I don't need to feel bad about that. I'm not going to necessarily go, I'll apologise if it upset him, but if he's just having a bad day and he's taking it out on me, that's not really down to me, sort of thing. So when I sort of analyse these situations, it's like, well, the banter thing, I don't really feel unhappy about that. I don't normally upset people with it. It's normally a two-way thing and everything. So maybe he was having a bad day. Hope he feels better. I'll speak to him in the morning. Whereas the other things I did really, really feel bad about. So when I'm saying at the end of the day I don't feel good enough, and maybe one of the reasons I don't feel good enough is because I don't fucking stand up for what I believe in, and I just go along with other people to fit in with a group. So I just stopped doing that. I just don't do that now. Rather than maybe I would sometimes say what I think if I go against the grain sometimes. Maybe sometimes I'll be a bit diplomatic and not say anything, but I certainly would no longer just go along with it just to be a part of a group. And that small thing helped me with my confidence, From there I took that further with other things, and eventually, you get into the realms of feeling quite a lot better in yourself. So when you ask that question, well, I'm not good enough. Not good enough for what? Like, everything I'm doing in my life at the moment is conducting myself in the right way. So what reason have I really got not to feel good about myself, or to feel like I'm not good enough for you? Like, I'm doing okay. If there's anything that you think that I'm not doing that you would like me to do, you can always ask me, and if it's within reason, then I'll do my best to change that. But one way or another, I'm doing all right. And so it's changing the polarity of that situation in some ways into something that you can use. And it works with so many things. I had a guy near the other day who's got this fear of death. Like the whole COVID thing sort of perked up, and he lost his dad a few years ago, and now he's worried about losing his mum to COVID. And it's really got into his head, you know, and he's really, really worried about it. So we were talking about the fact that, well, how can you use that in a good way? The fact that you're scared of death, which means you like being alive. So how can you make the most of your life? And you're worried about your mum as well. So how can you make more of your relationship with your mum? Like, what can you do to improve that? Are you putting enough effort in? Do you feel like there's more things you could do together? Is there more time that you want to put into her? Like, what can you do to take a positive from this fear that you've got? Because actually this fear could be a very useful tool. I've said this to people in couples counselling before when they're sitting here tearing two strips out of each other. It's like, would you speak to her like that if you found out she had got cancer and she was going to die in 2 months' time? No, I wouldn't. Well, why are you doing it now then? You know, would you speak to your people at work like you speak to your husband? No, I wouldn't. Why not? Because I might get fired. Well, do you not think that's something to think about? You're going to get fired from your family. You know, these little things, they all add up. They're all little things that you can look at that you can change your life. And as I said, it's often the small things, the really small things that are right under your nose that you don't even realise are there because you do them so often. We're all looking for these big things, right? These massive things that happen to childhood trauma, which obviously I'm not going to minimise, but sometimes that's not really the problem. The problem is what you're doing still about it now. You know, I remember working with a woman once as well who she would tell me that in her private life she had no confidence and a very serious lack of assertiveness, whereas in her job she was able to go into she worked in social care, she was able to go into people's houses and be very assertive with them, tell them, you cannot treat your children like that. If you continue to do that, we are going to have to step in and put an intervention in place because that is not okay. So why is it that you can do it at work and not do it at home? Reason being, at work there's a bloody legal framework to work to. So you've got somebody behind you saying that is okay. They are not allowed to treat their child like that, which means that she would have the confidence to go in and do something about it. In a private life, there's nobody standing behind her saying that is okay. You do not have to be treated like that. You can stand up for yourself, you know, and you have to make yourself into that person that does that. And this is one of the ways to do that. You know, you kind of you stack, as I said this before, but you stack the odds in your favour. You look. Someone put a thing up on Facebook the other day which I loved. It was my kid sucks at maths and he's really good at tennis, so I'm paying for tennis lessons. You know, and I just thought that's just brilliant because that's exactly what we need to do. Fuck your flaws, forget about your flaws to some degree, as long as they're not like causing trouble in your life and everybody's telling you the same thing. You know, focus on what you're good at. Look at that, and when you say at the end of the day I'm not good enough, actually ask yourself why then. Like, specify that shit so that you can actually work on it. I bet you won't find it as easy to do because there's probably not as many things as you think, and it's probably saved up things. Could be from bullying at school, could be from bullying at home, could be from parents that compared you to your brother or sister in a negative way, could be from a football coach that told you were rubbish and that you would never amount to anything in a team. It could be bloody anybody. But why do you have to keep living with it now is the question, and the answer to that is you don't. So the more you fucking work on it and the more you look into this sort of angle of things, the more you might realise that, okay, back then maybe I weren't good enough for whoever that fucking was, but the way that I conduct myself now, my life and myself now, it is good enough, you know, and I am good enough because what I do is good enough, you know. So yeah, I don't know if that sort of helps anybody, but hopefully it does, and yeah, I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.